Hi, everyone. This is Zach from HR technology and consulting company Elgin LLC, and I'm joined by Ali, a professional services architect from SnapLogic.
Hi, everyone.
So in this video, we're going to talk about survey data automation and how that relates to your employee engagement strategy and activity. So we're going to talk through two separate use cases, but they're very closely related. The first is looking at automating the data pull of your survey. So the pipeline is going to pull any new survey or current survey, including all the metadata for that survey. So the questions, the question choices, but then also the response data. And this is going to happen in near real time. We're going to pull all of that into a cloud data warehouse. So from SurveyMonkey in this case to Snowflake as a data repository. And ultimately, that's going to allow us to do a lot of interesting things in terms of data enrichment, natural language processing, and machine learning, which takes us into the second use case. So after we've got the data from the surveys programmatically captured and stored inside of Snowflake, we're going to run that data, particularly the open text field data, through a series of machine learning snaps within SnapLogic. That data is then going to be written back to Snowflake, at which point we'll pick it up and put it into Tableau to give you a visual representation of what's actually going on. Combined, these are workflows that are going to save you a ton of time and a ton of money, which is going to free up your organization to focus on the things that are really important that drive the bottom line results. So instead of putting your time and resources and effort into wrangling data, trying to figure out what those insights might be, this workflow is going to deliver those insights to you and allow you to take action upon those things to drive real and meaningful results. So Ali, I'm going to kick it over to you to walk us through both of these use cases so we can take a deeper look at what's going on in the background with SnapLogic.
Sure, sounds good. So this use case starts off with a survey being sent out to employees, to which they would fill it out. As you can see, there are a lot of multiple choice. Typically, there's also free text as well. So here we have a SnapLogic pipeline that will capture the survey information. So we have 4 tables. One table would contain the survey information at a high level. So in this case, it could just be the survey ID and the survey title. The next table would contain the survey question information. So this is basically the question text. So you have the question text, which in this case is called heading. And then you can have a unique identifier for the question, so the question ID, as well as other metadata associated to the question. Next up, you have the answer choices. So specifically, if it's a multiple choice question, you want to also track the various answer choices available. So here we have the answer choice ID, the question ID that the choices are related to, the position, and various other metadata, the choice text as well. And last but not least, you want to track the response. So basically, the response would contain the email address of the person that has filled out the survey, the response value, the ID of the question that the response is associated to, response type, is it a multiple choice, is it pretext, and the survey ID. And so all of this information is related to the other 3 tables. So it's definitely referenceable. Next up, we want to flag certain words. So if these are certain, for example, curse words or explicit words that you want to flag and look out for, you can certainly do that with a natural language processing pipeline. So here we have a tokenizer that is actually splitting up the words from sentences. And it tokenizes it. It checks to see the frequency of the words. So basically just opening this up, you have the various words and their frequency, right? And so that's getting upserted to Snowflake. Also, what's happening is if you want to see if there are any derogatory words or curse words or any other type of word that is being used, you can actually certainly catch that. Here we have a file reader with basically a word list. And it's doing a comparison to see if any of those words match this word list. And if it does, you can actually map the word, the email address, the date, time that this was captured, word, and you can actually reference it to the survey, to the question, and various other pieces of information that it can be correlated back for that particular response, for that particular word. And lastly, all of this can be tracked in a database, or rather a dashboard, such as Tableau. And I will show that here. So this is actually being pulled from Snowflake.
Yeah, correct. So this is a Tableau view that we just embedded into a website, and it is showing data over time being collected from specifically the open text response data from different surveys from Q1 of 2019 through Q3 of 2020. So if we look over in the top left, we're doing some sentiment analysis to decide if the overall like net promoter score for the employee population is positive or negative. And what's interesting is because we're aggregating all this data together, we're actually able to look at not just one survey in isolation, but all surveys in a given period to see what the overall response has been. So that's a really powerful capability at a glance to see what's going on and allowing us to get a holistic look, leveraging all of that data that we spent the time and effort and cost, because it does take time for an employee to complete a survey. We should get something back out of it. We can also look at the most recent survey. So this is the Pulse 2 survey, Ali, that you showed at the very beginning of the video. And this is giving us a breakout of overall responses and the sentiment associated with the words that were captured by that tokenizer. So we can see that most of these things fall into positive or trust, but we do see that fear is that's a non-positive sort of response sentiment. And that might be something that we wanted to dig into a little bit more and say, what's driving this fear metric? You know, is it something related to an organizational change? Are there leaders that aren't there? Do we have backfills that need to be taken care of that we haven't addressed yet? Is that population working a significant amount of overtime and feeling stressed? So it's a really easy way at a high level to identify areas of opportunity for subsequent analysis. Scrolling down a little bit further, we see a word cloud. And so also using the tokenizer and the frequency of common words, we get a sense of which words are popping up. There's a good thing here, you know, we're seeing communication, building, people, meetings, things that generally carry a positive sentiment, or at the very least a neutral one. And so that provides some reassurance that we have an understanding at a baseline level of what people are talking about. And we also see that there's a few non-positive sentiments in yellow with like pain, tired, bad, and difficult. And so these are places, especially if we saw those as being the most commonly used words, we would really want to take a deeper look at what's going on and driving that. Finally, at the bottom, we have flagged words. And these are places that we might actually look at something related to, let's say, diversity and inclusion. So we can see the flagged word on the left for Frank Emerson is female. And we can see the response that he provided is to actually fire or remove an employee because she is a female and he doesn't think it's safe for her to be working inside of the warehouse with everyone else. That's a problem and not something that we want to release out as a comment to the general population. And so we might go and have a conversation with Frank, with his supervisor, and just, you know, have a conversation, dig into what's going on there, and make sure that there's not some other type of unconscious or conscious bias at work inside of that team that might be percolating out to the rest of the company and impacting the culture in a negative way. Likewise, we're able to look at something like the word kill, and we might think, oh, that's really problematic. But Lynette is talking about killing stand-up meetings and is just being a little bit hyperbolic. And so we can say, okay, you know, that's a word that maybe we would be concerned about. But in this case, it's not something we have to really worry about. And then finally, something like the word medical for Robert, he's talking about having some assistance with medical leave. And even though he's not being specific about a procedure that's being done, he does talk about it causing a lot of pain and making his work really difficult. And so this might be a place as an HR practitioner, we would say, is this someone who maybe would benefit from some type of accommodation? Should we go have a conversation with Robert and just see, do you have all the support that you need? Or are we doing everything that we can to help you out? So really just the tip of the iceberg in terms of like what SnapLogic, the NLP and machine learning snaps can do for you and your organization, but already a lot of value even with just this short demo or proof of concept view. You can imagine using the same type of workflow to build out quantitative analytics and actually merging maybe some of this response data with other data repositories in your ecosystem. So if you're doing sentiment analysis on work-life balance and you're seeing that there's maybe a really positive or negative pocket in different pieces of your organization, you might want to look at the time and attendance data for that population and see if there's a reality check on it. If people are saying there is no work-life balance, and we're pulling that response data in real time and also pulling in their clock data real time, we can actually correlate those two things together and see what's going on. Likewise, if there's a really negative or positive population, we might want to see what their performance scores look like over time to see if maybe we have champions or advocates for people that are flight risks, and just to do like a secondary gut check or look for those correlations. So a really powerful capability natively delivered inside of SnapLogic, and an added benefit on top of the time and cost savings that you're going to realize by putting in the data accumulation and analytics capability that Ali was showing you. So we'll go ahead and call it there. If you're ready to go ahead and get a conversation started and learn how you can automate, streamline, and save, reach out to SnapLogic and Elgin LLC. We're looking forward to hearing from you, and thanks for watching.